This is the 2022 Ford Ranger Lariat, and one of the cool things about this one, it has the optional Tremor off-road package, and it also has a custom installed Borla exhaust. Sounds absolutely incredible. Steve here, and before we get started unpacking this vehicle, I want to give Formula Ford a huge shout out for giving me access to this vehicle to shoot the video for you guys. You can find the build link for this specific Ranger, as well as the contact details for Formula Ford down in the description below. It's kind of time to order a truck or other vehicles, especially if you're wanting a 22 model. I was just spending a few minutes chatting with these guys, and they're saying that some vehicles, some models are already getting pushed to 2023. So if you're in the market, looking at a Ranger, whatever the case may be, you want to get an order in sooner rather than later. But this thing looks absolutely incredible. Now, a few special things about it. It's, as I mentioned, the Ranger Lariat. It's the Super Crew configuration because we've got that Tremor package. And that's one thing about the Tremor, is that we have to get the 4x4 and we have to get the Super Crew only. So that means that we've got a 5-foot box. But let's unpack this thing because there's a lot of things to cover off inside of this. Now, I'm just going to do a basic walk around. So if you're looking for more of a technical, like how to use the steering wheel cluster, the media screen, things like that, check down in the description below. I've put together some comprehensive videos explaining how all of it works. But starting off with the exterior styling of the Tremor and the Lariat, I guess, because there are so many things. We've got our LED headlamps, LED fogs, and because this is the 501 Lariat, we've also got the forward sensing system. We've got our front tow hooks there that are painted black, going along with our black bash plates as well. So we've got bash plates, skid plates, we've got unique suspension and things like that. So it is nice. We've got our Ford badge as always, so typical Ford styling right in the middle of the grille. Ranger badge with these nice highlights that are going to be part of that Tremor package, so right in the grille. But the thing looks mean in comparison to the regular Lariat and the regular Ranger in general. I like all the small black highlights all throughout. We've got a little Ford badge right along the side there. Now, the Lariat Ranger will have 18-inch tires, but when we jump into the Tremor package, it's going to have these. So it's a 17-inch tire, all-terrain, but look at how beefy these things are. It is ridiculous. Ridiculous. And we do have, so off-road tuned suspension as part of that Tremor package. Take a quick peek. Looks really nice. Now, a few things that are going to be unique to the Tremor package as well. We've got these unique platform running boards, but feels really nice. It's got this nice grip texture to it all at the same time. Look at that. I love it. Especially with it being in the cyber orange, like it just pops that much more than your traditional black and whites and blues and things like that. I love the way this looks, especially the way the sun's hitting it right now. It's a nice metallic paint. Looks fairly sharp. Now, a few things, because of how loaded this one is, we've got all of the available tech. We've got our blind spot system, lets us know if anybody's in the blind spot on either side of the vehicle. And well, I guess tons of stuff on the inside too, but inside looks, I love the Tremor badge in the seat. Really nice highlight, but we'll get to the inside in just a second. Let's go over some other things on the outside here. Looking at fuel, regular fuel quality, just regular 87 gas is all you need to use inside the Ranger. Looking at the horsepower torque specs, which we'll get to when we get under the hood, it's achieved using a premium fuel, but you don't need to use a premium fuel inside of this thing. Just regular 87 is all you need to use. But it is nice. I love the beefy tires in this thing. Useful if you're going off-road. We've got our Tremor badge right along the side. Nice looking tail lamps. We've got the Ranger badge right along the tailgate as well. Ford logo. As always, we've also got our backup camera. And this one, so we've got our key there. So that's going to unlock the spare tire that's located just underneath the vehicle there. Now, we do have the option for towing inside the Ranger. This specific one doesn't have the tow package, but with the Ranger, we can tow up to 7,500 pounds. So make sure you get the tow package directly from the factory. But it is nice as part of that Tremor package. We've got our rear tow hooks on top of that. Really good, but I want to look at this Borla exhaust. Really nice, beautiful welding job under here. Sounds mean. Now, part of the Tremor off-road package is that we also do have our black dash plate in the front, and we've also got skid plates inside of this thing. You could technically just get the skid plates installed aftermarket if you're going to be taking your Ranger off-road, or just get it at time of ordering from the factory. So this is the Tremor off-road. You've got the FX2, the FX4, and a number of other things. So tons of options available. But I want to show you what's going on underneath the vehicle. Going for a ride. As you can see there, so we've got all of our bash plates. And one of the big benefits of having all the bash plates the way that we do is if you end up going over rocks, rugged terrain, whatever the case may be, it's just going to protect the underside of the vehicle. So again, really useful if you're going to be going off-roading. And as I mentioned, you do have the flexibility of adding in the bash plates aftermarket if you really wanted to. But having it available as a factory option is pretty neat all at the same time. So let's get into a few other things. We'll take a peek at the box first. All right, so as I mentioned, we only have the option for the 5-foot box inside of the Ranger Tremor. So the Lariat in general in the States, you can get the either Super Cab, so the 2 full door, 2 half door, or the Super Crew, which is what we're looking at here. But few options available. If you don't care about the Tremor package, you can get the Super Cab or Super Crew. That's the difference between the 6-foot box and the Super Cab, or the 5-foot box and the Super Crew. But you do have options for bed extenders and things like that if you need the extra space. And this one, I mean, obviously, as you can tell, is completely naked. So we don't have anything in the back, but you do have the option for spray-in bed liners. We can get drop-in liners on top of that. A few options available. You could technically do something from the factory. You could, if you're doing a spray-in bed liner, also look at aftermarket Line-X. It's about twice as thick as the factory liner, and it also has a lifetime warranty. So if the bed liner is something you were considering, you wanted the spray-in, aftermarket, probably the way to go. Drop-in bed liners are great because they're easy enough to replace on top of that. So it's going to be a matter of preference. And as I mentioned, series of different options. We've got tonneau covers, like whether it's tri-fold hardtop. We've got rolling. You could get a cap for this thing on top of that. But bed features to point out, you can see there we've got 4 individual tie downs. So we need to tie some things down. We easily can, but we have quite a bit of space back there, which is kind of nice. Taking a peek over top. You can see there we've got our regular antenna. Nice look. All right, let's take a peek underneath the hood. Ah, so nice. Typical Ranger styling though. So we'll get to the door, we'll take a peek under the hood next, and then we'll get to the inside. But we've got our nice kind of metallic highlight along the door there. Typical Ranger styling with our window control buttons, kill off power to the rear windows, and then some storage along the door. Just to the left-hand side of the steering wheel, we've got our power folding side view mirrors, so we can fold these things in. We can adjust our side view mirrors. We've got our controls as well, so for our fog lamps, figure out what's going on with our running lamps, increase or decrease the brightness of the cluster screen. And then we've also got a button for our bed lighting. We can see just right over along the top there. So working on later on at night, you've got that as an option. And moving down, so we've also got our hood release there. Let's go take a peek. All right, so just underneath, so we've got the Ranger there, and we've got a little release. So you can just kind of see it there, yellow release, right near the N in Ranger. And out to the side, not on hydraulics, but easy enough to do. There we go. But this is the available engine choice when we look at the 2022 Ranger, and it's the only choice that's available. So we do have the 2.3 liter EcoBoost. It's got 270 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. So it doesn't matter if we go for the option with the Tremor package, the FX4, whatever the case may be, we're only going to have the option for the 2.3 liter with those horsepower and torque specs. So you could technically do aftermarket ECU tunes and things like that. Could potentially affect your warranty though. So something to consider if you're doing any sort of work to any Ford Lincoln vehicle or any vehicle in general. You want to make sure you run it by the warranty department first, because if there's ever an issue with a piece that you've installed aftermarket, done tunes, things like that, it could potentially void your warranty. So definitely something to think about. But nice, easy setup there. We can easily top up our fluids if we need to, easy access to the battery, and then we can easily change our oil as necessary. But changing bulbs, a little bit tight off to the left and the right-hand side. So could you do it? Absolutely. But one thing, and I say this with every single car, make sure you take it in for regular service. I can't believe the number of people that don't do it. I get it's costly, but at the same time, if you're not maintaining your vehicle, you do risk voiding your manufacturer's warranty. So if you're never going to service your vehicle, have fun, like do whatever you want to do, just knowing that you can't get anything claimed afterwards if you don't maintain your vehicle properly and if you're not properly servicing it. So just take it in for regularly scheduled maintenance, make sure you're performing regular oil changes and things like that. But nice look, nice and simple. We've got our fire shield along the top as well. All right, and down we go. All right, let's have a peek inside. I love it. All the small highlights, like we've got our Bang & Olufsen, so our audio badge there, and that's part of the 10-speaker Bang & Olufsen system that's going to be available inside of the Lariat. But looking at the seats, I love it. Look at that Tremor badge again. Really sharp, but we've got this stitching across the door, so it's like a gray stitching, follows through the top part of the dash all the way through. And then it even follows through. So the armrest, the driver's seat in the middle, it's really nice. Now this is the Lariat, which means that we've got a few extra things. So key fob is the big one. So inside of the XL XLT, it's going to be a regular key versus in the Lariat, we don't actually have our regular key. We've got the emergency access key underneath here, but emergency access key is there, so we can use that in order to get to the spare tire, but we are going to be push button start inside of the Lariat. So hopping inside in a sec, because I also want to show you adjusting the seats in the Lariat. So partial power, so forwards, backwards, up and down. We've got our two-way lumbar support, and then we've also got our backrest there, so we can adjust our backrest. Headrest is just going to be a two-way, so we don't have the option of clicking forward, but we can easily go up and down with it. And in we go. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. All right. And firing this thing up. Sounds nice. Sounds nice. All right. So, quite a few things to point out here, but as I mentioned, this is just going to be a basic walk around. So if you want a little bit more of a look at the steering wheel buttons, the instrument cluster screen, or figuring out how to use the media screen, check in the description below for that walk around instead. We're going to start off. Let's get some AC going right now because it is toasty outside right now. 24 degrees, definitely feels hotter than that, but AC going. Oh yeah, here we go. Oh yeah, there we go, that's good. All right, so let's have a little bit of fun. Now we do have our button on the tip of that stick, and that's going to be for our lane keeping system. So lane keeping system works one of three ways. First way is if we start to veer over into a lane without signaling, it's going to nudge us back into our lane. It'll give us a little bit of a steering wheel shake, or it'll do a mixture of both. So it's going to be a matter of preference, but you can easily toggle it off if you want to. Along the right-hand side, we've got controls for our front windshield wiper on top of that. The steering wheel inside of this thing, it doesn't matter which trim level we're in, it's going to be a manual telescoping. So we'll go up and down as necessary, click it, lock it back into place, and we've got a few different options for cluster screens. So pad on the left side controls that screen, pad on the right side controls that little screen. So we've got some basics there. This one does have the added tech package, which gives us the adaptive cruise control system. We've got navigation and a few other great things on top of that. Now, a few other things to point out, because we're in the Tremor package, we do also have our aux switches there. So we could easily wire things in as necessary. You want to wire in dash cams, things like that. You've got the flexibility to be able to do it. There are some great walk-arounds on how to do it. Check down in the description below for a link off to see what's going on there. But so many good options, great looks for so the media screen is Ford Sync 3 screen, same thing that we saw in the 2021 Ranger, but we've got audio controls, some base climate controls inside of the screen. We can connect our phones easily. It's got support for both Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. So this specific one does have factory navigation, but if your Ranger didn't, you'd still be able to connect to Apple CarPlay to use Google Maps, Apple Maps, or Waze, or you can connect to Android Auto in order to use Google Maps. So you've got a ton of different options that are available. But the factory system is really straightforward to use. We've got some great settings, driver assistance settings, and a number of other things like ambient lights available here. We've got voice control options. Ambient light also can be a unique color. So if we want to customize the color, we've got the flexibility to choose between a few options there, which is kind of nice. But so many neat options available here. We can just kind of make out the ambient light as well, so it's on certain parts of the vehicle. You might just be able to make it under the door handle there. It's pretty bright outside right now, but door handle, other parts of the vehicle, which is kind of nice. And as we start to move down from there, so we've got a button for our four-way blinkers. I did mention, so we're in the Lariat, which means that we're going to be push button start. We've got our volume rocker, and one of the cool things, so we can tune this way. We've got a direct tune through the screen, or we can press the voice command prompt. 94.9 FM.
Tuning to FM 94.9.
So,
I said we will have a real cool time. Hey, you up for a real good time?
amazing sound inside of this thing, and that's all part of the upgraded Bang & Olufsen sound system. Now, don't get me wrong, the 6-speaker setup is good. The 10-speaker, it's just like a complete night and day difference. So if you're a real audiophile, you want to look at the option with the upgraded B&O sound system. It's incredible. But because we're in the Lariat, a lot of other things to consider. So we do have, as I mentioned, dual zone climate control. We've got our base controls there. We also have heated seats, and we can control a few things, as I mentioned, directly through this screen. We've got a little menu button. We can get to our max AC, max windshield defroster as well. Moving down from there, we've got two 12-volt power points, one on the left, one on the right-hand side. We've got a few USB ports down there, so two regular USB with a little storage space. And from here, we've also got our hill descent control. We've got our auto start stop system. We've got our electronic locking diff. There's also the tow haul mode. We've got our parking sensors, so we can toggle those things on off, as well as our traction control. And from there, a few other things. So because we have to be in the 4x4 with the Tremor, we've got our 2 high, 4 high, and 4 low, as well as this terrain management button. Now, the terrain management buttons, that's going to do a few things. So as we click it, you can see we've got some different terrain modes that show up. So we've got mud rut, sand, normal mode, etc. So you're going to get that inside of the FX4 package as well as the Tremor package. And where that comes into play is exactly that. If you're going to be going off-road, you're going to be doing rock crawling and things like that, you've got the option of selecting different terrain modes when you get into the FX4 package, the Tremor, etc. So if that's something you're going to be using your Ranger for, make sure you go for that directly from the factory. If you're never going to be going off-road with your Ranger, like even if you're just going to be doing small trails, but if you're not going to do rugged off-roading, I'd actually recommend against the Tremor package in the FX4. We've got beefier tires, which are it's going to hurt your fuel economy, and it's going to have a slightly rougher ride. So something to consider there. If you're never going to be going off-road, stay away from the FX4 package. Trust me on this one, you're going to thank me if you do. But as we start to move down from there, so we've got our shifter, so regular shifter, which is great. Park reverse neutral drive into our sport mode. And then we've also got our little plus minus buttons along the side of the shifter there, so we can change gears out on the fly if we want to. So if you want more of that feel of that manual transmission, you've got that flexibility. Moving down from there, we've got our manual parking brake, a few cup holders. We've also got an armrest there with a decent amount of space. So nothing inside of the armrest though, just plain Jane armrest. And moving out from there, I love the little highlights. It's like a nice kind of chrome look, which is kind of nice. Right across the side, we also do have our Ranger badge there, which looks fairly nice. But the base dash looks great. We've got another B&O speaker along the side there. Moving up overhead, because we're in the Lariat, we do have an auto-dimming rearview mirror. Hello. Now, one thing about the auto-dimming mirror, unfortunately, there's no way to toggle it off. So the auto-dimming rearview mirror is always going to be on, unfortunately. I wish that it had the flexibility of being turned off. It's just not available there as an option. Now, moving up overhead from there, we've got some base cabin control lights, turn all the lights on, off. Typical Ford styling. We also do have our visor, I should say our sunglasses holder. This is the visor. We've got our garage door system, so we can program in a code if we've got one at home. Business card holder, hello, visor, vanity mirror with built-in lights. And then this extends out to potentially block all the sun that might be hitting your face, which is kind of nice. This is good though. Now, a few other things to point out inside the Ranger. We don't have any sort of option for a sunroof inside of this thing, so it's just kind of locked in place there, but it still looks fairly nice. And like the spacing inside of this is great. Like the seats are super comfortable. Good amount of bounce there. And the seats themselves, so I'm 6 feet tall, and with me have it with the seat all the way down. Hoo-wee! What do we have there? Like 6 inches of headspace plus? That's amazing. Yeah, so we've got like 5-6 inches of headspace up overhead. So if you're taller, 6'5", 6'6", you'll probably comfortably be able to sit inside of the Ranger, which is kind of nice. Now, I did mention this is the Super Crew, so we've got the full 4 doors, and we've got those 5 seats. Well, you're technically going to have 5 seats even in the Super Cab. You just won't have as much space for the back. So it's going to be a matter of preference and what your needs are. All right, and let's go and take a peek from here. Oh, beautiful day. A little toasty, but I'll take it. I'll take it. All right, into the second row. Very similar to the highlights that we saw in the first row. So we've got our base highlight along the door, our unlock lock button back here, window control, as well as some storage along the side. Now, this is the spacing for the Super Crew version of the vehicle. So it's tight, right? So that's why I'm saying, like, if you're in the Super Cab, the one with the 2 full doors and the 2 half doors, you lose some space back here. So if you need 4-5 people in the vehicle, if they're kids, they'll be able to comfortably fit in the Super Crew, the Super Cab, I should say. But 4 full-size versions of me, it's a little tight. Like a teeny little bit tight. Okay, hold on. I got to adjust the seat in the front there. Oh, going for a walk. Okay. So what I'm doing is, so like I said, I'm 6 feet tall. So I just want to make sure that this thing's set up the way that I would drive it being 6 feet. So like that. That's perfect. All right. Let's try the second row again. So, opens it up, teeny little bit more space, not a ton, just a little bit. All right, here we go. Okay, so, as I mentioned, 6 feet tall, knees are touching the backrest for the driver's seat. So, foot space is okay. I would probably try to convince the driver to move the seat forward just a tiny little bit. But, I mean, at the same time, it still is nice that we've got so much, we do have a decent amount of space back here. We've got the option, so front-facing, rear-facing child seats. We've got all of our anchor points. We've got our top tethers as well. So if you need to have front-facing, rear-facing seats, it won't be an issue inside of the Super Crew. The Super Cab, rear-facing, might be a little bit tight. So not necessarily impossible, but depending on the size of your child seat, what I'd recommend is going into a dealer, seeing if you're going for the Super Cab, bring your child seat with you and just throw the seat inside to see if it'll fit or not. Dealers are really responsive to stuff like that, which is great. But other things to point out back here, up overhead, we do have our assist handle as well as a hook on both the driver and the passenger side. We've got a little light that we can adjust from the back here, so turn on or off as necessary. Moving down, a few things to point out. So we've got 2 more power points, or traditional USB, as well as a 150 watt wall outlet. So we can plug some things in there, a little storage tray on top of that. And then you can probably make it out. I didn't point it out in the first row, but we also do have thermoplastic rubber trays there. So this is a full rubber liner, I should say. So if you're going to be taking it off-road, things are going to get a little bit messy. Having these liners, you can easily just pull it off, spray it down, etc. Now, this is the factory option. You do have the option of going aftermarket through WeatherTech and other companies. So there are a lot of good options that are available there. Now, moving down, we do have some pockets behind the driver-passenger side. Looking at the seat itself, we also do have some cup holders back here. And I've got a manual sliding rear window. So, if that's important for you, you need to get some 2x4s or whatever the case may be in there, you've got that flexibility. But like I said, space-wise, it's a little tight, but it's not bad all at the same time. Like, could you fit 3 full versions of me in the second row? It'd be like a little bit tight. Not impossible, but you could probably do it. But I mean, at the same time, like slightly smaller versions of me, absolutely. It's funny, I knew a guy who ended up picking up a Super Cab Ranger, and the reason why he did is because you can't really get people in the back seat. So he was like, people can't use my car anymore. So everybody has their own reasons. It's kind of funny. It's like why people get Mustangs, because like it technically has a back seat. There is one there, but unless your friends are short or you don't like them, they're not sitting in the back seat of that thing. So some other things to point out. All right, looking along the seat itself, so we've got a little tab there. We can pull that up and it'll lock into place if we give it a little pull, or a little push, I should say. But we do have some storage trays there. Driver passenger side. One of the nice things, this thing is locked into place until you pull the tab again in order for it to drop down. And a few other things to point out. So I already did mention the cup holders that we've got there, as well as the manual rear sliding window, but we also do have a little release along the very top here. So we can pull this and partially down it goes. So I'll explain this in a second, but nothing along the driver's side. Along the passenger side, we do have our jack stand as well as our white spigot. So if we ever need to fill up using a jerry can, we're using that first. And this thing, so unfortunately inside of the Ranger, we don't have the headrest that'll fold down. So if we ever need to get this flat fold, all we have to do is just pop the headrest out. So we've got a little release there, and we just lift up. I mean, what was that, a second to do, and I did it one-handed? So I get it, it's a little bit of a pain that it's not, unfortunately, going to be a foldable one, but I mean, you saw that. A second to get it in, to lock it back up again. So pretty straightforward in order to be able to do it. I do wish that it was the old school like foldable headrest, but unfortunately not available here. But that was a look at the Ranger Lariat. Like, this thing looks nice in this cyber orange. It's growing on me more and more. I love all the small highlights, the Tremor badge, the rear tow hooks inside of this thing. It looks sharp. I love the beefy tires. So good, so good. Nothing else out of this passenger side that's different though from the front side there. Did mention, so we've got our anchor points along the back. We've got tethers and things like that. So if we need front-facing, rear-facing child seats, you've got that available as an option. But this thing looks nice, capable machine. I love what Ford's done with this. And like I said, all the small highlights, all of our black tow hooks, our front black bash plate, the highlights throughout the grille make this thing look fairly sharp. But that was a look at the 2022 Ford Ranger Lariat with the Tremor package. What did you think? If you ran into any problems, if you have any questions, comments, you're not really sure how to build this thing out, drop down in the comment section below or reach out to me on social media. More than willing to talk you through any issues that you might be having. But if you enjoyed this video, you want to see more like it, give it a thumbs up, share it with your social networks, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Until I see you next time, take care.